We'll now turn to student support and progression. As Emma has mentioned previously, a primary consideration when planning for distance learning is the characteristics of your learner cohort. And equally important is having a process for identifying the support needs of individual learners. From a compliance perspective, being aware of the support needs of individuals is the first step towards meeting the requirements of Clause 1.7 of the standards for RTOs. Where the individual support needs of students are known at the commencement of the course, strategies can be developed to respond to these. And of course, tailoring support and services for a learner often facilitates their course progression and completion. In my experience in interviewing students and reviewing student surveys, timely and relevant student support is often correlated with higher levels of satisfaction expressed by learners about their course and the training provided. Whilst ASQA has often found a high rate of compliance with the requirements of Clause 1.7 at audits, providing distance learning may mean that your RTO also needs to provide access to a different or broader range of educational and support services than you've previously offered. This may include educational and support services for learners to enable them to engage in new or unfamiliar forms of learning. Differences between learners within a cohort may also need to be considered. For example, your organisation may make learning materials available in alternative formats for students who do not have internet access. Whilst for those who are able to access learning online, consideration should be given to the design and presentation of content to ensure that it is accessible and inclusive of all learners, including those with individual needs that differ from other students in their cohort. There may also, as Emma has mentioned, be some specific services required to support some learners to achieve competency for particular units or requirements in their course. How your RTO determines the support needs of individual learners is open to your organisation to decide, and it is up to your RTO to determine how support will be made available to learners, whether directly or through arrangements with a third party. For many of us, when we first think about identifying the needs of learners, language literacy and numeracy skills or abilities often come to mind. For learners undertaking training involving different technologies, digital literacy in particular is a prerequisite skill that needs to be considered. Digital literacy for online and distance learning extends beyond whether a student can use a computer or not. And we also need to think about the types of tasks that a student will undertake during their course and whether or not the individual has the knowledge and capability to complete those tasks. For example, if a student is required to record a video for assessment and then upload that file, do they know how to do it? In considering the digital literacy demands of your learners, it is important to evaluate the impact that limited digital literacy skills may have on your RTO support systems. The question for your RTO to ask itself is, will additional support need to be provided to learners to equip them with the necessary skills to complete particular learning and assessment tasks? If the answer to that question is yes, then your organisation will need to think about how and when to provide the required support and in what format, so that your learners will acquire or develop their digital literacy skills to meet the demands of the learning environment and their course. For example, an RTO may choose to offer training as part of the enrolment process on how to use particular technological resources, which can provide the student with both the technical knowledge and skills needed to make their learning experience more enjoyable. Regardless of the distance learning mode, it is important that students can make contact with their trainer to ask questions and to discuss course requirements. And contact options and such when we're offering distance learning could include telephone, email, or via the RTO's learning management system messaging system, so that students can have their questions answered. However, it should not be left entirely up to a student to seek support when they need it. In fact, some students may not recognise when they need support, so regular communication and interaction can assist with identifying new and emerging support needs so that your RTO can provide learners with timely access to relevant support services. As Emma has also mentioned, it is also true that for some students, changing delivery mode to distance learning may be challenging. And you may find that a student who previously appeared to have few or no additional support needs now requires significant additional support. One possible way of identifying points at which support may be required by individual learners is through monitoring of student progression, including both student engagement with learning activities and their completion of tasks. Some online learning management systems include the ability to track and generate reports about a student's engagement with the course content whilst undertaking their learning. Using such information, you may be able to identify individuals who are not progressing through their learning program, and then follow up with the student to identify specific areas where they may require extra support, resources, or assistance. In addition, proactively contacting students, giving prompt feedback on work submitted, and encouraging real-time interaction can assist in maintaining student motivation to complete their studies. RTOs may also consider setting up virtual classrooms by using video conferencing to allow increased collaboration between peers and encourage friendships among students that would otherwise occur in a classroom-based course. And as Emma has also mentioned, there are many other examples of insights and practical approaches to providing student support, engagement and monitoring progress whilst delivering distance learning that have kindly been shared by members of the Australian VET community, and these can be found in the distance learning section on the ASQA website. If your organisation is a CRICOS provider, you may currently be using a distance delivery mode for training and assessment, provided of course that the training package requirements allow for this. With regard to monitoring progress, CRICOS providers must meet the additional course progression requirements at Standard 8 of the National Code. This means that for overseas students, they are required to be enrolled in a full-time registered course to undertake study. For VET courses, a full-time course is a minimum of 20 scheduled contact hours per week, unless otherwise specified by ASQA. Course contact hours are the hours for which students enrolled in the course are scheduled to attend class, participate in course-related information sessions, supervised studies sessions, and mandatory or supervised work-based training and examinations. Students are also expected to progress through their course so that they can complete the course within the registered course duration. Some of the common complaints that ASQA receives from students undertaking distance learning with reference to student support and progression are that they complete their assessments but cannot progress to the next unit of competency until those assessments are marked. These delays can lead to a student not completing their course in a suitable time frame. For students undertaking studies via online delivery, a common complaint is that they are not provided with the required support, and this raises concerns that trainers and assessors are often not responding to emails or phone calls promptly.